welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm here with my co-host Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. I've been working a lot. Just, trying to keep up with the keep up with the prices of everything.
Yeah.
But I've been playing quite a bit in terms of games. So I talked last time about how I had started on a Star Wars kick, and it was, I think, not even 2 weeks after we finished recording last episode that I stopped playing Star Wars games and was right back into Pokemon. I've been playing a bunch, particularly X and Y, because they are the ones that take place in the same region as the one that is coming out in October, Pokemon Legends ZA. So I'm excited about that. And I actually, for the first time this year, I watched the Pokemon World Championships. And that's like it for someone who's into Pokemon, it's worth checking out. If Pokemon isn't really your thing, there's not going to be much there for you.
So is it just people battling then?
So it's people battling in the video games. They have championships for the trading card game, Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Unite. So yeah, they have like four arms, four sections of it basically. And yeah, it's just, one-on-one battles. I think the trading card game and the video game are all best of 3 matches. Unite and Go or best of 5. It's interesting for someone that's into it. Like, I personally like the video game competitive side and the trading card game. But that's because I'm mad and actually enjoy some of that complexity.
So is the card game actually complex then? Because I've played a lot of Magic. I've played a lot of a bit of Digimon, and those are both Digimon's simple-ish if you're a beginner. It can get complicated. Magic is very difficult for me to keep up with. So is Pokemon kind of like on level with those?
It's much closer to the way you described Digimon. It's easy to get into, but when you get to the World Championship level, there are some intricacies to get into. There's a lot more of like reading your opponent and all that kind of stuff that goes into high level competitive games. But the trading card game itself is pretty simple. It's just once you get to that higher level of competition, you start seeing a lot of it filter down to, okay, there are 6 decks that everyone is using, and it's all about how to pilot them successfully against all of the other ones that are being used. So to just go to your local game store and play. It's easy to keep track of. There's not nearly as much to manage as in Magic, but like I said, once you get to this high level of competition, there is a lot more going on and a lot more to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. I don't think I'll ever compete in the Pokemon World Championships, but I might see if I can attend one of the events just like as a spectator.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, that's basically all I've been doing is working and playing Pokemon. So what have you been working on?
I've mostly been working, and well, I did put out an album last week. It's called Static is Occasionally Encountered on the Radios of Heaven. Kind of like a noise ambient album. It's available on my Bandcamp page, matthewhudson.bandcamp.com. Been working on that for a while. It's not for everyone. Let's say that. It's very niche. But I make music mainly for myself rather than other people. And it's been like a couple of years since my last album. So yeah, I was quite excited to put that out. Other than that, I've been playing a little bit of Resident Evil Revelations 2. I decided on that as like my next big game. But I've not been on it for the past couple of weeks or so. I've just not really had the time. But I was enjoying that, and I will get back to that. I am looking forward to getting Silent Hill F that comes out next month. Gamescom just released like a new trailer, some new information on that, and yeah, it looks really interesting. So looking forward to that. And also Guild Wars 2 announced its new expansion, Visions of Eternity, that will be coming out at the start of November, I believe. So yeah, looking forward to that. Other than that, I've just been playing the usual stuff and nothing outside of the games that we're playing for this episode other than those.
I had not even heard of the new Silent Hill. So is that the final title for all regions, or is that just the Japanese title?
Yeah, that's the title for all regions.
Interesting.
F. People are speculating because of the font that the F is in. It looks like the musical symbol for Forte.
Yeah, that would be Forte.
Yeah. So people are speculating it's that, but it's not. It's not actually set in Silent Hill. It's set in Japan. So people are a bit skeptical, but I'm, I'll trust them. I'll give it a go. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it won't. But
I mean, it's you're the same way with Silent Hill as I am with Pokemon. If the name is on the box, you'll at least give it a shot.
Generally, yeah. I would say more Resident Evil than Silent Hill for me, because overall, I do kind of like prefer that franchise. But Silent Hill, there are several games in the franchise that I've just not played because they just don't appeal to me. But this one does look really good.
Well, I guess Resident Evil did have a more consistent output, whereas Silent Hill had the first two games that were fantastic from what I understand, and then had a lot of games that weren't as good because they farmed it out to just any old developer.
Well, three is great.
I didn't know about 3.
Yeah, three is fantastic. One, 2, and 3 were made by the same team. 4 was made by the same team, but it had kind of like a shift in direction, and a lot of people love it. I think it's kind of average personally. After that, I've tried a little bit of the following ones and just could not get into them at all. While we're on the subject of Silent Hill as well, Bloober Team have announced a remake of Silent Hill 1.
Interesting.
Don't know anything else about it yet. They've just said that it's being worked on.
Well, I mean, the Silent Hill 2 remake was pretty well received from what I understand.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe they can do all right when they have a tighter leash.
Yeah, it could be years away yet, but yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm assuming they would do a remake of 3 if that does well, because 3 is like a direct sequel to 1.
Right. Well, and those are the main 3 that the original code was lost, or whatever the situation was, right?
I know the code was lost for 2 and 3. Not entirely sure about 1. I mean, because one has been re-released on PSN, so right. I know that they have access to that PlayStation version. I mean, it was PlayStation exclusive anyway. The other games aren't available digitally, apart from like outside the HD collection,
which we don't speak of.
Mm.
I don't know. It's always kind of interesting to see that kind of stuff, and I'm never gonna complain about games getting a second chance, especially a second chance at archival.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've harped on that a lot here recently. We even put our money where our mouth is last episode.
Yes. And actually this episode as well.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. I forgot that was included. So, yeah, for everyone out there, PC gaming is still not a monopoly.
Yeah, I was going to mention as well, speaking of PCs, I should be getting my new PC in about 2 weeks' time. So really looking forward to that. Yeah, there's a company that does like next day deliveries, so I'm waiting for my week off at the start of September, and probably just going to go for the best specs that I can get for $1,000.
Are you going to be assembling it yourself or just pre-built?
Pre-built.
Okay.
It's a company that does custom builds as well, but they also have pre-built systems which they do on kind of like next day delivery. So
okay,
that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's a reputable company, and I know people who have used it and have like given good reviews. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the building process, so that's why I built mine from scratch. But if you can find a good one pre-built, especially if you're not looking for like top of the line performance, you should be fine.
Yeah, I just want to be able to run Guild Wars 2 in max settings rather than having to like turn everything down, and newer games in max settings, which considering the monitors that I've got, I'm not playing in 4K. So any PC that I get for $1,000 should be able to do max settings in 1080.
Oh yeah,
like for the foreseeable future.
I mean, consider I think I spent like, I want to say it was like 1,200, maybe a little bit less, but that was just like the tower, and then like I got new keyboard and speakers and mouse, but like I didn't have to buy monitors because I already have so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting the base unit.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, I don't know exactly where the threshold is. I know I didn't go for a top of the line graphics card, but I think I can still play most games on high settings. I know the benchmark for Final Fantasy XIV that they released for Dawn Trail, I basically maxed that out with my build.
Yeah.
So $1,000, you should be where you want to be.
It's £1,000, so
£1,000, right? So
it's probably going to be more or less equivalent to the 1,200 you spent.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that. Because, yeah, your money is worth more than ours. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure I run everything, if not max, then close to it. And that, like I said, that benchmark looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I do actually have a monitor that goes up to 4K if I choose to use it. The rest of them are 1080, but I do have one 4K monitor. But yeah, if we don't have anything else in particular to go over, then we could just take a break and move on to our main topic.
Okay, can do.
So this month, our topic is one that is very, very dear to my heart. It is Star Wars. If we had been competing over what to cover, I would have been campaigning for Star Wars from the beginning. But we usually agree on what to do without a whole lot of prompting. But yeah, I love Star Wars. I've been into it since I was 10. When the original trilogy was re-released in the 90s to get everyone ready for episode 1. I saw episode 1 in theaters like 3 times. And I love Star Wars games. I've played most of them. I haven't actually played all of them. But that's mainly because I don't like the Fets, so I don't plan on playing Bounty Hunter. But yeah, I'm sure I've gone on about Star Wars on this podcast already. Do you have any significant history with Star Wars?
Not particularly. It's something that I enjoy. Like I've seen all the films. And I've seen like a lot of the TV series. It's something I enjoy. I wouldn't say I'm like a big fan. But same as you, like even though I'm like quite a bit older, my first kind of like entry into it was seeing those remastered 4 to 6 in the cinemas when they released in the 90s. And after that, yeah, I went same as you to see the prequels. Only watched them once though, and I've seen like the sequel films. Yeah, I enjoy them. I'm not crazy about. I'm not saying you are, but I'm not crazy about the franchise in general. But I have enjoyed what I've watched. With personally for me, Andor being the high point of all these Star Wars media that I've watched, and there are like several low points as well. I am one of the few people that actually enjoyed The Last Jedi. I thought that was pretty good, but I didn't really like the very final film, episode 9, I think that was. But yeah, it is something. Generally, if something new comes out to watch, then more often than not, I will like jump on it and give it a watch.
And it's interesting because I'm someone who I love the films. I actually quite like the prequels. I think they were unfairly lambasted at the time, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that they were misjudged. I enjoyed The Last Jedi. I liked someone taking a different take on Star Wars. George Lucas only had so many stories in him, and seeing someone else's take that isn't I hate to invoke the anti-Disney sentiment, but getting someone in there who isn't going for the safe Disney presentation was very interesting to me. But I also, a lot of my Star Wars fandom comes from the expanded universe. So the books, the games, all the stuff that's been rendered non-canon now, which includes both of the games that we're covering. I believe the Old Republic is also lumped in with everything else is non-canon. I think the only video games that are even close to canon anymore are the newer ones, the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, and even that's a maybe.
So everything kind of like after the Disney buyout.
Yeah, so I don't particularly care about the the canon split. A good game is still a good game. And I read a lot of the extra books, some better than others, but there was a lot of good stuff within the expanded universe. But yeah, so the first game we're going to talk about, I want to say it kind of kicked off a big chunk of the expanded universe. The game we're talking about is Rogue Squadron for the Nintendo 64. And Rogue Squadron kind of became their own entire section of the expanded universe between the video games, and they got novels. I think I haven't seen Rebels, so I don't know if that deals with Rogue Squadron at all. But they became a very big thing in the expanded universe. So I suggested this game because I had a lot of fond memories of playing Rogue Squadron when I was younger. I specifically remember that I rented this from Blockbuster many years ago, which just by the fact that I said Blockbuster, it is many years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just looking here, the X-Wing Rogue Squadron comics came first. So that was what kind of started that branch. And then this is just, an adaptation. But anyway, I remembered really liking this game. When we started playing it, I very quickly realized that the game I remembered liking so much was Rogue Squadron 2 for the GameCube. Because this game, going back to it, and I had the Steam version, the Rogue Squadron 3D or whatever. I could never get it to run.
No, I tried the PC version and it wouldn't run for me, so I ended up having to emulate it.
Yeah, I couldn't get it to run. So what I did was I broke out my N64 and my N64 copy of Rogue Squadron. And it was funny, there was already a save file on there. And it was only a couple of missions in. And it's like, well, okay, I started playing this and then ADHD'd out almost immediately. That happens a lot. And wouldn't you know it, I got exactly 3 missions in right to where that other save file was, and that's where I stopped because I couldn't get any further.
I think I was about 3 missions as well.
Was it the one where you have to save a ship that's like stuck in a swamp?
What it was is the one after the escort mission. So you escort these supplies, and you're getting attacked, And then after that, there is kind of like a ship that you've got to stop from being destroyed. It's like a shuttle, I think it is. I could not do that mission.
Yeah, I couldn't do it either. And I've beaten this game before. I would always like even, I would take out everything and then it would just start getting shot from somewhere. I wouldn't be able to find any enemies to fight, but it would just start getting shot and blown up. I could not figure it out, and I got so annoyed that I just stopped.
So when I first started playing, I didn't really understand like the tracking system telling you where the enemies are. So my first couple attempts at the first mission, I failed because I was just flying around and I couldn't find any enemies anywhere. Then I understood what the minimap was doing and kind of like showing you kind of like a triangle as to where the enemies actually are.
Right.
And I was able to do it then. But until then, you are kind of like flying around a lot slower than you would expect an X-Wing to fly.
Yes.
Taking out kind of like in that first mission, it's mainly stationary targets. When you start having to take out TIE fighters in subsequent missions, it is really difficult to get a bead on those guys.
Yeah. Now, I love flight games. I like Star Wars Starfighter and Jedi Starfighter are two of my absolute favorite games. I love the later Rogue Squadron games. I even like some of the non-Star Wars flight games, like Crimson Skies was pretty good. I've tried Ace Combat a few times. Those are pretty fun. This one was very early in console flight games, and it shows. I mean, this is like, I want to say this is like right after Star Fox 64. Let me look. Because this was released in 98, so that would have been, what, a year or two after Star Fox 64? And Star Fox 64 is on rails. I don't want to speak ill of a game that was trying something new that hadn't really been done before, but they needed a little bit more time and resources to get this together.
Yeah, I can't imagine how it plays on an N64 pad. I was playing it on 360 pad, which I was able to map in a way that that made controlling it kind of like quite simple. But an N64 pad, it's a bad pad anyway, so I can't imagine how it works in this.
Well, it's not terrible. The main thing is you're controlling the ship and the camera basically with a single stick, so that gets a little wonky. But I mean, it handles fine. It's just the objectives can be very hard to figure out, and then sometimes things just blow up and you don't know why. Yeah, like I still like this game, but I definitely would recommend people check out Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Squadron 3. I think even Battle for Naboo was, which was also on the N64. I think even that one had some improvements.
One thing I will say, in terms of like graphically, like the environments are very bland. Like throughout all the 3-4 missions I actually played, but I was impressed by the detail on the ships. The ships look good. Like on the TIE fighters, on the X-Wings, the A-Wing, they do look like they do in the films, which impressed me.
And that was very clearly a priority for them going in.
Didn't like the music though. Sounded like they were trying to be John Williams and they're not John Williams.
Yeah, like It's like, there's only one Nobuo Uematsu, there's only one John Williams.
But overall, like I said, it wasn't difficult to control as such, but when you are kind of like taking out flying enemies, they seem to be going a lot faster than you, and just trying to get a bead on them, trying to get shots off, and stopping yourself from getting hit at the same time, especially when there's kind of like multiple targets, is just kind of a nightmare. And I kind of feel if they had increased the speed of your ship, it would have solved like a few of the problems. I mean, not all of the problems, because you can play with Naywing as well, and that does go a little bit faster. But yeah, just there's a lot of enemies kind of like attacking from different places, and it doesn't seem like your AI companions are doing much to kind of like help with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. And let me tell you, so I don't know if you messed around on the craft ship selection screen at all, but the Millennium Falcon is an unlockable ship.
Oh.
Yeah, you get if you get all bronze medals on the bonus levels, or just enter the right code, you get to control the Millennium Falcon. And let me tell you, if you thought the X-Wings were slow, the Millennium Falcon is not fun to control in this game.
Why? Is that really slow?
Yeah.
But it did the Kessel run in less than 10 parsecs.
I know it's so big and bulky, and there's a lot of missions where it's just not that viable to use. It's just, fun to have. Now in Rogue Squadron 2, you play the Battle of Endor, the space attack on the second Death Star, and the first time you're locked to the X-Wing, but you can do it afterwards. You can do it with the Millennium Falcon, and the Falcon controls much better in the second game.
And are the ships faster in that as well?
I believe so. Again, this was very early, and there was a lot of kinks to be ironed out. But what I'm actually seeing for Battle for Naboo, they actually built a whole new game engine. So that's interesting. I'll have to check this game out. I know Adam recommended it to us, so I'll have to check that out.
I mean, the series must have done well to warrant like a couple sequels.
Yeah, I mean, it sold way better than they expected. Let's see. It sold over 1 million copies in the US and 44,000 in Japan. Yeah, so... And it came out like right between the special edition film releases and episode 1. So that helped, because Star Wars was ramping up at that point.
Yeah, because I looked on before I decided to emulate it. I looked at like physical prices on eBay, and it's not a particularly expensive game, so I assumed that there were a lot of copies out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of copies out there. One interesting little tidbit is, so there's a bunch of hidden missions, or there's a bunch of hidden stuff, really. There's one mission where you can do Beggar's Canyon in a T-16. There's a 1969 Buick Electra 225 as a playable ship. And one thing is, they actually they put the Naboo Starfighter in, but because the episode 1 didn't come out, I think it was like 6 months after the game came out. So they had to hide the game. They had to hide the ship in the game. A bunch of people at Factor 5 and LucasArts didn't even know it was there. They scrambled the code to keep people from finding it with Game Sharks and whatnot. And then after the movie came out, they LucasArts put the code out to unlock it.
Quite an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It's the kind of stuff that we saw back in the 90s with Easter eggs all over video games, and now the Easter eggs are more just references. Because, like, Starfighter and Jedi Starfighter had the same thing. There was stuff hidden in the world that you could find that did nothing. Like, I want to say there's actually some literal Easter eggs in Jedi Starfighter hidden in one of the levels. They don't do anything. They're just there if you go way off course and find them.
If they don't do anything, then it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, there are some things that are secret in the games that are unlockable. Like Darth Maul's ship is unlockable in the first Starfighter game. I know I miss unlockables and cheat codes and the 90s gaming in general.
I don't even remember what Darth Maul's ship looked like. He didn't spend a lot of time in it.
No, he didn't. The only reason I know so much about it is from playing Starfighter and using it. Like it's one of those things that it may not have even, it may have only appeared in the film in like one shot. But they had the concept art for it, so they put it in video games, because I believe it's in Battle for Naboo as well. But yeah, I do recommend people check out Rogue Squadron. The original game is rough, and I definitely suggest the second one more, but there is still some interesting stuff to be found in the first game. And if you're interested in the Rogue Squadron story, I definitely recommend checking out the comics and any of the books about Rogue Squadron. But what's interesting about this one, and I'm glad they revealed this early enough in the game that we're able to talk about it. There is a tie from this game to the next game we're talking about.
Oh, not one that I noticed.
So, do you remember Crix Maydeen?
The name rings a bell, but not really.
So, the main way that you know his name is from Return of the Jedi, because he was a general for them. But he is a Imperial defector that appears in both this game and the other one we're going to talk about.
I think that's probably a good place to start talking about the next game. So shall we take a break and talk about that?
Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll go into the next game.
Okay.
All right, so our second game is, in my opinion, a much better game and a much more interesting game. It is Star Wars Dark Forces. So this was I believe this was the first attempt at a Star Wars first-person shooter. And given it released in 1995, I'm pretty confident it was the first attempt.
Yeah, the mid-90s were kind of like all the rage for FPS games. After Doom came out, everyone wanted an FPS game.
Yeah, I don't think it was tried before that, because, I mean, Doom came out in, 93?
Yeah.
And the Dark Forces is very much... It's very much following the Doom game design philosophy, so this isn't... this isn't like playing a modern FPS. This, it's not like Halo. It's very Doom-like. Which is what it would have been called at the time. No, Doom Clone.
There are some improvements in this engine to Doom's engine, because this game does allow multiple levels on top of each other, whereas the Doom engine can't do like a room on top of another room. But this one can.
And you can look up.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things they set out to do with this was, expanding what Doom did, and the focuses in that department were the ability to look up and down, duck, jump, and then there's tools, power-ups, all kind of stuff. But going off of the little tidbit that I hinted at the end of the last segment, the story of Dark Forces follows Kyle Katarn, a mercenary that is currently employed by the Rebel Alliance. And during the course of the game, you have a mission to rescue Crix Maydeen, who has recently defected to the Alliance and been captured by the Empire. And you rescue him, he gives you information, and then, after that, he shows up in one of the Rogue Squadron missions, needing to be escorted or picked up or something to that effect. I can't remember exactly what it was, because it's been so long since I played it and got mad at it. But you can very clearly see this character show up in one game, move to the next game, and then, at the very least, he appears in Return of the Jedi. I'm sure he shows up in other stories as well. But I thought that was a very cool thing that I noticed when I was playing these games.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice when they can kind of like tie stuff in together, even though all of this has since been erased from canon.
Yes, that is the problem.
Like you can tell that from the very first mission, because the first mission has you getting the Death Star plans as Kyle Katarn.
Yep. The first Death Star plans, we should note, because Kyle Katarn isn't a Bothan.
And apparently it wasn't Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. It was Kyle Katarn.
Yep. And so Jyn Erso is basically a fusion of Kyle and his partner Jan Ors.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah, her name is Jan Ors. And you combine the two and you have Kyle and you have Jyn Erso. Also, I know there's another connection with the names. Jin's father, Galen, his name comes from Starkiller in The Force Unleashed.
Which Kyle Katarn is also in, I believe.
No, he's not in that one.
Oh.
No, so the Force Unleashed is a funny one, because the first one was so like there's a big joke, all of the expanded universe is blessed by George Lucas. The first Force Unleashed was originally meant to be the same level of canon as the films. Like, it had the direct blessing and intervention of George Lucas. This is as canon as the films. Of course, now it's just like all the rest of it. But at the time, it was a huge deal. Because, like, this is a video game that's, that nobody can argue about. It's just as canon as the films. But yeah, so Kyle is one of the cooler characters in the expanded universe, who has just completely been erased by Disney canon.
Yeah, he's definitely a fun character. I believe it was in the Jedi Knight series as well.
Yes. So Dark Forces is Kyle just as a mercenary, doing all the stuff for the Rebel Alliance. The second game, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, is Kyle basically becoming a Jedi. And there's this place called the Valley of the Jedi that I think his dad has a map to, and the bad guys steal that, and there's a whole thing. And then there's the third game, Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith. At the end of that game, Kyle cuts himself off from the Force and goes back to just being a mercenary. And Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast is Kyle reconnecting to the Force and becoming a Jedi again, and this time, doing much better, which leads to Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, which we've talked about, where Kyle is the mentor figure. But the first game has none of that. No lightsaber, no force powers. It's just guns and thermal detonators.
Yeah, a shitload of guns as well. There's a lot of guns in this game.
There are so many guns. And what I like is this series, up until Jedi Academy, where it kind of had to change because you were coming at it from a completely different angle. This series kind of kept its identity all the way up to that point. Because the Dark Forces Jedi Knight series, they're first-person shooters, but they're also very heavily puzzle games.
Yeah, not least because of the labyrinthian levels.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember Doom being this much this puzzly, but like the Dark Forces Jedi Knight games very much have that thing where you've got to find your way through a level and then solve a puzzle with all the switches and whatnot.
A couple in particular are really obnoxious. One of the later levels has you in these series of circular rooms where you have to kind of like flick different switches in order to gain access to the middle of the room, but there's like all these barriers up, and you've got to flick the switches in a certain order, in a certain way, in order to reach like the center of this circular room. I had to look up a guide for that because I was batting my head against that for ages.
And the worst part is there's multiple rooms that could fit that description. Yeah, so that does continue into the other games. And the sheer volume of weapons is also available in the other games. You just also have access to a lightsaber, and that's what you're. So in Jedi Knight, it's more balanced because you're just starting to get force powers. You don't get the lightsaber right away, and there are times where it is not optimal to use the lightsaber. It's still optimal to use guns. As you go further on, the lightsaber kind of becomes your only option. But one of the reasons we chose this game in particular, as well as Rogue Squadron to a point, is you made a very good point that your favorite part of Star Wars is the stuff like in Andor, and you said that's the best thing they've released. Something that's very ground level, no Jedi, no force powers, no prophecies. It's hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster by your side. And that was such an interesting perspective to me that I wanted to focus on these games that are very specifically not about Jedi. Yes, Luke is in Rogue Squadron, but he's not a Jedi at that point. But yeah, so I believe we both played the remaster for this.
Yeah, I originally picked up the original on GOG, and I struggled a bit with the controls because it is like very primitive controls for the original version. And I'm used to more modern stuff, so I decided to pick up the remaster, and that was fully modern controls, you know. I was able to play that a lot better, and the remaster looks a lot better. It's a really well done remaster.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It was done by Night Dive, and it looks fantastic. It plays great. They smoothed out some of the weirdness from it being a game that released like within the first year or two of the PlayStation. Yeah, because it released in '96 for the PlayStation. So I started with the original PlayStation version, and I've started it a couple of times, but I never got as far as I did this time. It's just so much easier when you play the remaster. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about games that were doing the best they could for the time period and the technology they had, but the remaster is just so much better to play.
Yeah, the going back, especially with FPS games, to a game that doesn't have mouse look, it's just a big step back.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm the weirdo that most of my Doom experience has been on controller, because most of my playtime on the original games is on Switch. But yeah, those just the leaps and bounds that the genre has taken since 1995, it does kind of leave the original in the dust. But the remaster is fantastic. They did a great job with it, and it is not that expensive.
Yeah, I think I paid like 15 or less.
I want to say I only paid like $10. It is okay, so it's currently $30. I think I got it on sale.
Yeah, I definitely did as well.
And I mean, this is only really relevant to me, but GOG has a connection to Amazon Luna, which is their game streaming service, which does still exist. It still works because I've done it, and this is one of the games that's available on there. But it's a thing where you have to own it on GOG to be able to play it on there. But yeah, it's a great game. It's well worth trying out. I just really would recommend trying the remaster as opposed to the original.
Yeah, it's still definitely not without its bugs. There was a couple times in later levels I went through an entire level and I couldn't work out what I needed to do next. I ended up watching a video and following exactly what was in the video. And essentially there is a door that is supposed to open when you press like a certain switch at the end of the level that just didn't open for me.
Yep.
So I ended up having to restart the level again and like do the whole thing again, and it worked this time. And also in the very last level, you're supposed to kill a bunch of Dark Troopers, and then this door opens out and you get like the final boss. But one of the Dark Troopers got trapped in a wall, and I could hear him, but he couldn't hit me, and I couldn't hit him. So I ended up having to restart that level again. And that the last level is a long bastard level.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a pain in the arse. But aside from that, like those are like the only two game-breaking bugs I actually encountered. Most of it was fine. Like you said, some of the puzzles are kind of a pain in the arse, and I did have to look up how to do several of those.
Yeah.
But other than that, I had like a really good time with this game. I played most of the levels on normal difficulty. If you're going through the campaign, you can choose the difficulty for each level, like as you're going. So if there was a level that I was having a bit of issue with, then I'd put it down to the easier setting and get through it that way. But I think the difficulty balance is pretty decent. I would say the weapon balance isn't as refined as it is in Doom. In Doom, every weapon kind of like has its purpose. Whereas in Dark Forces, you can get through most of the game with your machine gun. Like 90% of the enemies you can just take out with that machine gun. Whereas in Doom, you are constantly weapon swapping because there are just better ways to deal with each enemy.
Right.
But yeah, I essentially just use a machine gun for most of the enemies in this, and when a boss came, I just switched to one of the more powerful guns and just mowed them down.
Yeah, so that concept is done better in later games in the series. When you get to, I haven't gotten all the way through the second and third games, but when you get to Jedi Outcast, number one, you have enemies with lightsabers, so you clearly are supposed to deal with them with a lightsaber. But there's a lot of enemies that, like the I don't want to say jet troopers because they're not, but like the troopers with jetpacks, they are best dealt with the Imperial Repeater, because they'll just dodge your shots if you shoot them with the regular Stormtrooper rifle. So there's a little bit more of that specialization in the later games, not to Doom levels, but better than this game.
There were a couple weapons I just didn't use, like the landmines. I blew myself up more than I blew up the enemies using those landmines.
Yeah, I almost never used thermal detonators in Jedi Outcast. I actually used them a lot more in this than any other game in the series. But like the one I liked was the det packs, which I don't remember if there's an equivalent in this game. But it was basically an explosive charge that you set, and then you can trigger it remotely.
I don't think so, unless that was a secondary use for the landmine. Like I said, I didn't really use the landmine much, so I'm not sure if that had any kind of like remote capability. Right.
But yeah, so the series did, develop as they went on. Like I said, I've played at least some of each game in the series. I've beaten Jedi Outcast, and then obviously we've already talked about Jedi Academy on the podcast. One thing that is interesting is the second and third games, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2, and Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith. They're still only available on PC, but modders have actually made remastered versions of both of those games. They've basically, so like with Night Dive's remaster, they effectively kept all the items exactly the same, and like all the stuff is still the same. It just is, up-res and all that. The fan mods for the sequels actually change some of the items to match up better with how they look in the rest of the series in Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. So like the shield pickups, the health pickups, they will look exactly the same as they do in the later games, as opposed to how they looked in the original games. That was just a cool thing that I noticed with those. There is a little bit of setup to get those mods running, but it's not terrible. And I just like with Dark Forces, I really recommend going for remastered versions, because those originals can get kind of rough.
And one other good thing about the remaster as well, it does include, as a bonus feature, a prototype level that they put together. like as like a proof of concept for the game, and that's included in the remaster as well. Not particularly difficult one, but yeah, it's a cool little feature, and they do have kind of like vault stuff. I've not really looked too much into that, but there is a section in the menu called Vault, and there's art and stuff like that. And there is a menu that you can load like user levels in as well. That is something that I was going to try and didn't get around to, because apparently there are quite a few user levels. So I've still got the game installed. I will probably check them out at some point. But there's just kind of like an easier way to load them in the remaster.
Yeah, and that's, there's whole chunks of the game that we didn't actually deal with. So yeah, this is a very good game. I definitely suggest people check it out. I believe you can also change the music.
Yes, neither of the soundtracks are good.
Okay.
I know there are people who love the soundtrack for this game. I do not. I turned it off after the third level. It just annoyed me. But there are like two different versions.
Yeah, I guess I remembered seeing that in the options menu. But yeah, this is a great game, and it's a good way to... It was a good way to expand Star Wars without more lightsabers or more Skywalkers. Because those are always... That always makes things more complicated than it needs to be. Case in point, originally they wanted Luke to be the main character, but it just... They didn't want to... They felt that it would add unnecessary constraints to gameplay and story.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, like, Luke kills stormtroopers, not as many as Kyle.
Oh yeah, he kills hundreds. And they would have had to change up the story as well, because the Death Star plans had already been captured by the time Luke came into the picture. Yeah.
So it would have been... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that portion of it was added after Kyle was created. Because, ultimately, that level is just really like a proof of concept. It's very basic, and it actually, I think we talked about this last time, but it's a good hidden tutorial to give you a small environment to run around in and learn the controls.
Yeah, same as like the first level of Doom. Like really small, self-contained, not much in the way of kind of like exploration, stuff like that. Just a good entry into the game.
It just has, massive lore implications.
Yeah.
But again, none of it matters now.
Like, the lore implications in the first level of Doom is some demons got shot. Which is the story of every Doom level of Doom.
But yeah, we can go in circles forever, but this game is fantastic. I think that $30 price point is about where it sits on most storefronts.
Like I would definitely wait for a sale. It's not an especially long game. It's only 14 levels, and I think 30 for a game this old is probably a bit much. I would say if you can get it for like 15 or less, then absolutely grab it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I wouldn't be angry if I paid full price for this, but it's definitely one that would be better to wait for a sale. I can also confirm that it does run on Steam Deck, because I managed to do that.
Cool.
But yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and wrap up. Check this game out, especially if you're interested in Star Wars outside of the films and the Skywalkers. because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Or even if you're not, it's still a solid FPS.
Yeah, that's also very true. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take a break and come back and finish up.
Okay.
So that was our, as I often say, that was our first swipe at a Star Wars episode. We will almost certainly cover more Star Wars at some point. Like I said, it's a franchise that I have a lot of love for, and I think there's a lot of interesting games to talk about.
Yeah, I know we will have to play Episode 1 Racer at some point, because you do bring it up quite a bit. We will have to do that one.
The problem I have with that is Episode 1 Racer is, like, it's fine, but I very much prefer the sequel, Racer Revenge, where you actually have pod racer combat instead of just pure racing. Because the Episode 1 Racer is basically just a simulation racer with, a skin on it. Racer Revenge is actual pod racing. You smash them up and get, extra credits for taking knockouts. Like, the second one is just so much better. But that's, that'll be for another time. For now, we'll just say that we will see you in October for our Halloween episode that we always do. And until then, we'll just say goodbye. So, goodbye.